and welcome to the news on NTA International. I'm Comfort Amadou. The headlines. Charles III and Camilla crowned king and queen amidst pageantry and symbolism before more than 2,000 people in England. Federal government safely evacuates 132 more Nigerians from war-torn Sudan. Plus, Ecowas Parliament engages citizens at town hall meeting, promotes inclusion of women and youths in leadership. And we begin with London as Charles III is crowned king in a ceremony full of symbolism inside Westminster Abbey, London. Charles Alpha reports that the set-piece coronation is the first in Britain in 70 years, and Charles III is the 40th reigning monarch to be crowned at the central London church since King William in 166.
Wearing his grandfather's crimson velvet robe, King Charles was anointed with holy oil before the St. Edward's crown was placed on his head.
Receive this ring, symbol of kingly dignity and a sign of the covenant sworn this day between God and King. God save the King! God save King Charles! Long live King Charles! May the King live forever!
Camilla, the Queen Consort, was thereafter crowned with Queen Mary's crown in a similar ceremony as Prince of Wales, William, and the congregation pledged allegiance to the King.
I, William, Prince of Wales, pledge my loyalty to you, and faith and truth I will bear unto you, as your liege man of life and limb. So help me God.
Two 2,200 people, including the royal family, celebrities, faith leaders, and heads of state, were inside the abbey to witness the event. The King and Queen Consort Camilla arrived for the service in the Diamond Jubilee State Coach. Thousands of people braved the rain to line the routes from Buckingham Palace through central London. After the coronation ceremony, there was a second large procession before the couple appeared on the palace balcony. King Charles is the 40th reigning monarch to be crowned at the central London church since King William I in 1066. Outside the UK, he is also king of 14 other Commonwealth countries, including Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
From Prince of Wales to King Charles III, the King becomes the 40th monarch to receive a coronation at Westminster Abbey. Charles Alpha again tells us more about the man with the crown.
Charles Philip Arthur George was born on November 14, 1948, at Buckingham Palace, christened in the music room by the Archbishop of Canterbury. A month later, both him and his mother's life were to change when his grandfather, King George VI, died in February 1952. He was only 3 years old when his mother, the late Elizabeth II, acceded the throne that same year, making him apparent heir. Charles attended his mother's coronation in June 1953, seated between his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and his aunt, Princess Margaret. As heir to the throne, the young prince took on the traditional titles of the Duke of Cornwall and in the Scottish peerage of Duke of Rothesay, Earl of Carrick, Baron Renfrew, Lord of the Isles, and Prince the Great Steward of Scotland. His parents opted for the prince to attend school rather than be tutored at home. Charles started at Hill House School in November 1956. 10 months later, he became a boarder at Cheam School in Berkshire. In 1958, he was made Prince of Wales. He would wait until 1969 until his investiture was held. Queen Elizabeth II, after her coronation ceremony with Charles, Princess Anne and Princess Philip, aged 13 in 1962, Prince Charles began his first term at Gordonstone, which his father, the Duke of Edinburgh, had attended. Charles has pledged to stay out of politics, yet, as Prince of Wales, he petitioned ministers on subjects from Abuja calling to the Iraq War, climate change, and alternative herbal medicine. Having spent a lifetime as heir, no one could be as prepared to take the crown as Charles. However long his reign may be, it can be said that the nation now knows the man who walked through Westminster Abbey to his destiny. It is hoped that the man now with the crown will deliver on all fronts, both in the UK and the Commonwealth nations. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
And after the glorious revolution of 1688, Britain changed from an absolute to a constitutional monarchy. After the past centuries, British monarchs are believed to have demonstrated exceptional leadership skills throughout the ages. In this report, Adebola Bookson Sunday takes a look at the top 10 British monarchs.
Beginning from Alfred the Great, AD 849 to 899. Alfred was the youngest son of King Etwulf of Wessex. At age 4, his father sent him to Rome, hoping to win the favor of Pope Leo IV. A year later, Alfred returned and discovered that his mother had died. Alfred had a few years of peace to implement some of his plans, restructure the army, build defensive walls in selective cities, and set up public schools. He commissioned the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles, which is a source of information for the history of the English language. In the 6th century, Alfred was given the epithet the Greatest. Between 1157 and 1199 was the reign of Richard I, also called the Lionheart. Richard was a son of King Henry II of England and Leonor of Aquitaine. He alternatively lived in England and France with his mother. At age 15, Richard was named Duke of Aquitaine and Count on Poitiers and helped rule these regions with his mother. He was highly cultured and learned to compose poetry and songs. Richard died in 1199 in Charles as a result of a blow from crossbow. Richard was respected for his triumphs at the Third Crusade. He also introduced the heraldic design, Royal Arms of England, 3 lion, the national symbol of England. Henry became king in 1509 and in 1534, after receiving the backing of the parliament and clergy, he declared himself supreme head of the Church of England, initiating 3 statutes: Act of Appeals, Act of Succession, and Act of Supremacy. It became the turn of Queen Elizabeth I in 1533. Elizabeth's mother was beheaded when she was 2. She was placed in the care of a governess, Catherine Ashley, who taught her French, Dutch, Italian, and Spanish. Elizabeth's reign was termed the Elizabethan era, and writers such as William Shakespeare flourished. However, in 1560, the country suffered from severe economic depression. Elizabeth tried to keep England at peace. Under Elizabeth I, the country's navy had become the mightiest in the world, led by Sir Francis Drake. Elizabeth died in 1603. She never married and cultivated the image as a virgin queen who was wedded to her kingdom. Between 1630 and 1685 was the reign of Charles II. Charles was the eldest surviving child of Charles I, King of England, Scotland and Ireland, and her Maria of France. Charles was tutored in Latin, Greek and maths. In 1649, the Scottish Parliament proclaimed Charles II king. Charles didn't have a good relationship with Parliament during the 1670s because of his wars and religious policies. In 1662, Charles married Catherine of Braganza. Charles's wife had not had successful pregnancies, and Charles had no heir. In 1685, Charles died. He was buried in Westminster Abbey. Fast forward to 1926, the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Queen Elizabeth was born Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor to Albert Frederick Arthur George, Duke of York. In 1947, she married Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark. He converted to Anglicanism and was given the title Prince Philip. Since 1931, the British Empire had begun changing to a Commonwealth. Elizabeth died on 8 September 2022, having spent 70 years on the throne. She is succeeded by her eldest son, King Charles III. Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
Earlier in the day, we spoke with a British journalist, David Hayward, who shared his thoughts on the coronation ceremony of King Charles. Hayward also talked about the duties of the king and the implications of the coronation on the UK's international relations, especially with countries in Africa.
I mean, the people have responded incredibly to the events in London. I think it can best be summed up by, I'm in a small village outside of London, and you can see from behind me just the way in which people have embraced this, putting flags up, and a lot of the houses are decorated with flags and bunting with the Union Jacks to celebrate the king. I went for a little walk just before the ceremony began, and very unusually, for the UK, I could hear nothing. There were no cars, there were no people, everything was silent. And I think that said a lot because everybody was inside, everybody was watching the ceremony. I think you can also gauge a lot by the number of people that turn out onto the streets of London, the number of people that you can see from the pictures who've been camping out for weeks and weeks and weeks to get a glimpse of the king as he proceeded through. And it's been a very, very significant day, I think, in the UK. The role of the monarch, the role of the king is very much ceremonial. His only really position is to act as head of state, but in a very ceremonial way. He doesn't actually have a great deal of power. That power still rests with Parliament, that power still rests with the government of the day. They have to get the advice of the king, they have to talk to the king, they have to get the permission of the king. But that's really a ceremonial thing. It's not really, constitutionally he has no real power. He has power on paper, I suppose, but the real power still rests with the government, the real power still rests with Parliament and the politicians in the House of Commons. I think it's a much more modern monarch than the previous monarch, than Queen Elizabeth. You're absolutely right. He is passionate about the climate. He has been an organic farmer for the last 40 years and passionate about fighting climate change. How much you can do on the world stage is a different matter. But I think we're also going to see a very different Commonwealth, a very different attitude towards the rest of the world, a much more inclusive role as king, I think. And that can be seen by the ceremonies today. If you look at the people that participated, that took part in the ceremony, it was very multicultural, it was very inclusive. It took people from all kinds of heritage. I think significant.
The head of the anti-monarchist campaign group Republic has been arrested at a protest in Trafalgar Square ahead of the coronation. Footage shows protesters in Not My King t-shirts being detained, including Republic CEO Graham Smith. 6 demonstrators, including Mr. Smith, were arrested by police while unloading placards near the coronation procession route, the group said. The Metropolitan Police has not confirmed the exact number of people detained, but did say a number of arrests had been made near the coronation parade route. Several people have been detained on suspicion of breaching the peace on Carlton House Terrace near St. James Park. 4 have been held on suspicion of conspiracy to cause public nuisance, and 3 more held on suspicion of possessing articles to cause criminal damage near Wellington Arc. President-elect Bola Tinubu congratulates Charles III on his coronation as King of England and head of the Commonwealth. Tinubu says the splendor of the British monarchy and its rich tradition came to the fore as the world literally came to a standstill to witness the crowning of the British King. The President-elect says he is confident that King Charles will follow in the glorious footsteps of his late mother and even surpass her achievements in the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. He hopes that the new king will continue to advocate the environment and biodiversity with keen eyes on the situation and plight of the underprivileged people in Africa and around the world. As the President-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Tinubu expresses hope that the reign of King Charles III will make the bilateral relationship between Nigeria and Britain stronger in the interest of the two countries. There are tributes from leaders all around the world on the coronation of King Charles have continued to dominate the airwaves, with Chinese President Xi Jinping taking the lead. Let's join Charles Alpha for details.
It was a day of glowing tributes for King Charles III and Queen Camilla on their coronation. While China called for cooperation and peace, Chinese President Xi Jinping urged the UK to work for a stable and mutually beneficial relationship with his country after recent strains in their relations. China and Britain, both permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, should take a long-term and strategic view to jointly promote the historical trend of peace, development and win-win cooperation, he said. US President Joe Biden, whose country was represented at the lavish ceremony in London by First Lady Jill Biden, paid tribute to the enduring friendship between the US and the UK. He tweeted that the country's relationship was a source of strength for their people, saying that he was proud his wife could be there for the historic occasion. On the part of the head of the European Union's executive, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, the coronation is a testament to the enduring strength of the British monarchy and a symbol of stability and continuity. The EU Council President Charles Michel said the member of the 27-nation bloc, which the UK voted to leave in 2016, appreciated the King's vast experience to promote understanding and respect, and his tireless effort to promote the sustainability of the planet. Similarly, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who is in Kenya for a visit, also welcomed the newly crowned monarch's interest in tackling climate change. Scholz said it is very important that he is someone who is committed to a close cooperation between Great Britain and the European Union, and who also has his own personal agenda to advance climate protection. French President Emmanuel Macron, who also attended the London ceremony, sent his congratulations to King Charles III and Queen Camilla, calling them friends of France. On his part, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, whose country was represented at the coronation by President Sergio Mattarella, sent her best wishes to King Charles III, to Queen Camilla, and the entire British people. The Foreign Ministry in Greece, where Charles' father, Prince Philip, was born in 1921 on the island of Corfu, tweeted in English to warmly congratulate His Majesty King Charles III, a proven friend of Greece, in his coronation day. It wished him success in his duties and said it was looking forward to continuing excellent cooperation and further deepening bilateral historic relations. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
More Nigerians returned safely home from troubled Sudan as ECOWAS Parliament holds town hall meeting to promote women and youth's participation in governance. Details after this break. Stay with us.
It is time for us to leave this place.
One of the earring is missing.
No one will find it.
I'm not willing to take that chance.
Have a big plan.
What do you want?
I want a senior position at Dubai. If anything happens to me, go through the content of this envelope and check every single thing. It's done. No one will ever find out the truth.
Welcome back. Saudi Arabia hosts the first face-to-face talks between the warring armies in Sudan after several ceasefires broke down. Justin Bemwinyi reports.
A joint US-Saudi statement welcomes the start of pre-negotiation talks in Jeddah between the Sudanese Army and Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF). On Friday, reports spoke of continuing clashes in Khartoum. The Sudanese Army says the talks aim to address humanitarian issues, and there has been no official RSF comment. The army confirmed it had sent envoys to Jeddah to engage in the talks, which the UN and aid agencies have been pressing for, faced with a dire humanitarian crisis in Sudan. The statement from the US and Saudi governments urged both parties to take in consideration the interests of the Sudanese nation and its people and actively engage in the talks towards a ceasefire and end to the conflict, which will end the suffering of the people and ensure the availability of humanitarian aid to affected areas. The joint statement also expresses hope for an expanded negotiation process that would include engagement with all Sudanese parties. Justin Bemwinyi, NTA News.
Federal government has so far evacuated 638 Nigerians from Sudan and brought them to Nigeria in 4 flights. Musa Babali reports that 132 of them arrived Abuja this Saturday.
Studying medicine?
Mariam Lawal is a student of medicine in Sudan. She is among the 600 Nigerians evacuated from the war-torn country. Her worry and that of other students is their education.
But it hasn't been easy. We suffered a lot in the process of this.
Hopefully I'll find somewhere better to start from or resume from. I don't know which one yet.
Chairperson Nigerians in Diaspora Commission Abike Dabri Erewa said government is looking for a way out for the students.
The federal government committee work with the Ministry of Education to get universities in Nigeria that have online courses that are partnered with their own university. And a lot of them are just hoping that the war will be over and then continue education. Some of them have just one semester to go. So that, I think, is a major anxiety now, and we'll engage the authorities to see how that can happen. Because of Ukraine, we have some universities where some students were reabsorbed. So again, it's a major issue of concern that will be handled by the emergency response team.
The concerns of parents whose children are yet to be evacuated is their safety.
Sometimes I get information from the committee, I relate back to the parents, and so I'm like the middle person, and we're happy the children have started coming anyway. Even though my children are not around, but they're all my children.
You know, we had 501, first 2 returns, and then today we have 132 persons. And so far we have taken care of, their needs, immediate needs, hotel, feeding, and make sure that they are able to return to their homes. So
in the meantime, the flight that returned from Port Sudan this Saturday evacuated 132 women and children. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
ECOWAS Parliament is pursuing the target of regional integration and social inclusion for the people by engaging citizens in town hall meetings to bring members of Parliament face-to-face with the people they represent. Onenge Fineface reports that this engagement is spearheaded by female members of the West African Regional Parliament.
For the first time since its formation, ECOWAS Parliament is meeting with hundreds of women and youth who constitute the largest number of citizens for the purpose of sharing experience and ideas to complement integration and promote development in West Africa.
When women and young girls are in decision-making positions, more inclusive decisions are made, different voices are heard, and different solutions are created.
create mentorship and networking opportunities, and encourage political parties to adopt gender quotas to promote women's participation in parliament, which will increase female representation.
We need to mold a generation of leaders who can effectively adapt, continually learn, think outside the box, and confidently lead us forward.
Speaker Sidi Mohammed Tunis considers the engagement an opportunity to enlighten governments of the region about the dangers of unconstitutional hold to power, which has plunged some member states deep into the crisis of military takeovers. It is a town hall meeting initiated by female members of the ECOWAS Parliament with the theme, Rejuvenate Democracy by Giving Voice to the Young People.
I am happy to note that the ECOWAS Parliament through ECOFEPA has been a strong promoter of scaling up the number of female representation in politics and decision-making bodies in the sub-region by emphasizing the importance of shared values and common policies as a basis for peace and sustainable development.
The town hall meeting is considered to be strategically aligned with the current ECOWAS Vision 2050, which places more emphasis on women and youth development in the region by addressing gender inequalities, despite the progress made by most countries regarding women's participation in the economic and social sectors. In Abuja, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
In other news, the federal government says it will continue to hinge on the provisions of the Sustainable Development Goal 6 through the provision of clean water and sanitation for all. Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamuri affirmed this while inaugurating a 50,000 capacity Ezia Lakpa water treatment plant in Iheme, Mbano local government area of Imo State. Olajide Bello was there.
Just like his portfolio, large showers ushered in the Minister of Water Resources into the Eastern Heartland state. For Isiala, an agrarian community endowed with large plantation of palm, they are singing a new song as lights now manifest at the end of the tunnel, as attested to by Austin at Barakwe.
Before, the community have been suffering in terms of water. But since the cessation of this water, now we are not having water on daily basis.
Just like Oliver Twist, the state government is asking for upgrade of the facility from 50,000 to 250,000 capacity.
It is their responsibility to make sure that this good gesture from federal government to Imo State is protected.
On the part of the Ministry of Water Resources, attaining SDG Goal 6 in every nooks and crannies of Nigeria is a situation of eyes on the prize.
Federal government with water supply being on the concurrent list has been a major investor and contributor to water supply. So it's in that spirit that we supported the Ezela Paka water supply project. This phase is providing 500,000 liters a day to the communities.
The project inauguration was climaxed with an interactive session with the staff of the Anambra Imo River Basin Authority. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching and come forward. I'm Madhu.